In just a minute, we will be live on Facebook.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. It is Wednesday, 9:02, and we are ready to kick off the Fairfax chapter of 1 Million Cups. So we are started by the Coffin Foundation, which is working to help entrepreneurs provide education, increase the opportunities, allowing people to learn and take risks at their own success. We are both national and local. There are over 120 chapters across the country meeting at 9 o'clock in each respective time zones. And we have four pillars that we run by, and that we are doing presentations and not pitches, not trying to raise money here. We're all about authentic connections. This isn't a networking group per se, more of an authentic mastermind. We are run for the community and by the community, and we are radically and intentionally inclusive. So I think we've got some visitors. Let's see, if you are a visitor, raise your hand, tell us your name, your company name, and how you heard about us or who invited you. Do we have anybody that's new or hasn't been here in a while? All right.
I think Rich is returning, so welcome back. And Piesha, I think maybe new. If you don't have a chance to unmute, just introduce yourself in chat. And I guess for all of the attendees, we'd love to get to know more about you.
Absolutely. Yes, and definitely take advantage of the chat throughout the meeting. Also, please check in, scan that QR code, make sure we check everybody in. This helps us with 1 Million Cups National, the Kaufman Foundation. They like to know what we're doing and how many people attend. It helps us with getting swag. And when we have our in-person meetings, it gives us the opportunity to provide some fun stuff. And you can see our numbers have been going up. So that's been awesome. The trend is going in the right direction. But please go ahead and register using that QR code. You'll see it again throughout the presentation.
Nice.
Also, this doesn't happen by magic. We have a whole group of magicians here that run the meeting. We've got a number of organizers, always looking for new ones, so keep that in mind. We also have some brand ambassadors as well. We are also partnering with a couple of organizations, Veterans Growing America and the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. Also, you've got that QR code again to go ahead and register. We also have some sponsors, a location sponsor, and that is the George Mason Enterprise Center. And I'll let Jen Dalton talk about the George Mason Enterprise Center.
Thank you so much, John. Mason Enterprise Center of Fairfax is an incubator right by 66. It's actually where we meet in person the first Wednesday of each month. We would love to see you there. That is where we will give past prisoners swag or people who attend more than 3 times, lots of prizes. What's awesome about Mason Enterprise Center Fairfax is they have dedicated mentors, over 20. Congratulations, Luis Delhos, for being their newest mentor. We appreciate you giving back. As a member of the incubator, you can be a virtual member. You can be an office-based member where you have access to the board meeting rooms, big training rooms. They also have really great programs on commercialization of your product. They work with companies outside of the US who are interested in coming into the DC market and beyond. It's called their Soft Landings program. So if you're interested in learning about Mason Enterprise Center Fairfax, I've dropped the website in chat. You can also reach out to Eddie Hill, who you will see on Wednesday when we're in person. It's a fantastic space. Do go check it out. You can take a tour as well. And again, they really are just here to help businesses grow and scale. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our coffee sponsor, AJ. And just make sure you're unmuted for folks as we go through the presentation today.
Hi, there we go. Thank you, Jen, and good morning, everybody else. My name is AJ, and I'm from BizApps, the company. So it's about marketing. So imagine your marketing running on autopilot, converting visitors into customers, while you stay focused on running your business. And that's exactly what we deliver at BizAppsForMe.com. So most companies are stuck with disconnected ads, videos, and campaigns that just don't convert. And we fix that. With BizApps, you get full stack of suite, the strategy and the tactics all built to work together. We turn your physical and digital touch points into interactive, measurable, and high impact marketing assets. The result is higher engagement, better conversion, and clear ROI, and also the campaigns that scale instead of stall. Love to show you how we can put your growth on autopilot. So contact me and let's talk. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, AJ. And just a quick reminder, you can scan to check in down that lower right-hand corner. Oh, and with that, all right, how our meetings work. We are going to get started on the presentation part of the meeting. We'll have the presentation, and then I ask that everybody on mute while Margot presents, and then we'll do Q&A afterwards, which John Rutenberg will be running. And so with that, from Orahill, we've got Margot Halstead. Margot, I'm going to let you take it away. Just let me know when you want the slides to change, and we'll go from there.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here again, and I'm excited to share with you sort of what I've done since your last round of advice, which was robust, and what I'm hoping to get from your group expertise this time, as you have not been staring at my work for the last 6 months, and while I have been overthinking it. So thank you so much for being another set of fresh eyes. So as you're listening, I ask you to think differently with these challenge questions in mind. This will sort of formulate how you're listening. I do not want you to then spearhead your thoughts only to these, because that would then diminish your group expertise and brilliance. So ultimately, while it may sound funny at the time, what are your common employee problems in your industry? Whether it's in your company, in your industry, with your clients, broad question there. And what recurring interpersonal dynamic is plaguing your clients in their workplace? Think big, think specific, doesn't matter. Your previous advice was invaluable. I have a long list as I was looking through of all that you asked me to do, but on a big picture, you said to define my audience more concretely and own my interest in working with the government is waning. And so took that to heart. I think the words last time were you're trying to boil the ocean, and what do you do? So that hit hard. So in the last 6 months have definitely said, this is all I want to do. Actively said no to lots of opportunities that were out there in the fray that I usually before would have said yes to. And so today is now continuing that laser focus with you. So specifically action-wise, what have I done since last time? If you recall, wrote a book that was published last year. Since then, working on the audiobook that is now published. Worked on a workbook, which there's 2 versions. One that will be sold that mirrors the book absolutely chapter by chapter, and another one that absolutely flows with the class that is more dynamic and has more activities in it that relate to the class itself. I was interested at the time of last talking to you becoming a certified provider for ICF, SHRM, and PMI, and that has happened. That is no small feat. What has been certified as a 5-day class, a 1-day class, half-day classes all around the same content. As long as I stay within the content that I have delivered to them, I can mix and match and still put up classes on all of their websites. I have taken your advice and hired a social media expert and a speaking engagement assistant, realizing that I cannot do it all. And branded the look and feel of all of my LinkedIn posts, as you can see with my Illustrator now, to have a one consistent look and feel on all platforms. So while you ask what my company does, now I have a better answer. I train individuals and groups to speak constructively in every conversation. My expertise is in interpersonal communication, and that's what I'm focusing on. It is skill building based and not theory based. Most employees at this time have heard of the theories, and going to training again to learn more theories is not worth their time and money. They want to see actionable tools enter their employees and their own tool belts and changes in behavior. And by the way, as a marketing mechanism, getting it to provide CEUs and PDUs and whatever Sherm calls them, I can't remember, into their back pocket as well. So while it's easy to say that's fascinating, she provides interpersonal skills, what is it that I actually do? So I wanted to show you instead of tell you today, so that you get an idea and that light bulb will go off with, oh, now I get it with what she does. So we're going to have 2 minutes. The foundational element of interpersonal communication in my mind, and the theory is starting to catch up with my thoughts, which is kind of exciting to be on the cutting edge for this brief 15 minutes of life, is that behavior follows thought. And if you really believe that for the next 5 minutes, that our behavior follows our thought, then we can either work either end of the teeter-totter spectrum, whatever you'd like to use. You can either work on changing behavior, which is parenting, or you can work on changing the thought and watch the behavior then follow those thoughts. So if we think of it in a parenting way, we always are changing their behavior, but then we're instilling the thought so that they will self-motivate in the future. Their behavior will follow what the Halsteads believe, fill in your last name. But once we sort of grow up and move out of that household, we've always been still attending to the behaviors, but not so much the thoughts. So this training balances both and helps people understand how they need to work on both ends. We can move on. So here's one thought, one tool that will demonstrate how behaviors follow thoughts. In the American system, somehow this is an unwritten rule. We think of caring as a switch, and we are taught by our parents, generally speaking, that if we care 100% and we're all in. And if we don't care, we don't care. And our language and how we're taught about caring mirrors this in our upbringing and in our community now. And after talking to hundreds of international clients, they too have expressed validation of this thought and that they struggle when they come to America understanding how it is a dichotomy. So for most Americans that I work with, I teach them that caring is a dial. And how can you imagine with this new tool that's going to be clicked on the screen in a moment, you're caring as a dial and not a switch? So when we listen to our language, do we either say, I care for that neighbor, or I don't care for that neighbor, or I care for that organization, or I don't care? If we were to change that dynamic to a dial and allow you to care either 20% or 30% or 4 or 7 or ABC or whatever you choose to be your caring labels, then our behaviors will follow those thoughts. And if we care 20% for somebody, then we will put in 20% effort. So let's look at Luis. You're going to be my example today. If I care for Luis, then I will behave in a certain way. If I don't care, I will ignore him. But if I change it to a dial and I see Luis coming, instead of rolling my eyes and shutting off, I'm going to say, okay, Luis, 20%, I don't like him, but I have to get along with him. And so, hi, Luis, how are you? And that's the 20% that he gets. And that's enough. So that's a demonstration of how my skill building training works so that there will be absolute change in behavior that hopefully you for yourself have experienced with just this one little tool that I explained briefly. That you yourself can see how if you implement this, your behavior will change with whoever you've decided to put in front of your imagination right now, that how would it change if you went from a switch to a dial? Now you're good. So my question for you is, if I am offering these trainings to all employees in all the universe, to specifically marketing to those 3 that I've gotten the PDUs for, to managers for themselves, to employees to ask their managers if I can have this training because I've gotten that feedback on my performance review, which is very common. I'm trying to reverse engineer this and try and figure out, how do I say this is the problem I'll solve? So what problems are you seeing that you know this training perhaps will solve? Not just with the carrying dial, but I've got 40 plus 100 more, lots of them. So I will leave it there and take in your brilliance.
Okay, so thank you so much, Margot. A round of applause. And we really appreciate you returning as a prior presenter to tell us that some of the stuff we suggested stuck and you've worked on it. And so I'm going to open up the questions. Please do put hands up, and I'll try to do my best to recognize you. Try to focus on Margot's challenge question and to use Margot's words. When you speak, speak constructively, and in terms of our Q&A, that's one question per hand, so don't ask multiple questions. And keep your suggestions short. Margot, often say thank you very much. We don't need to know that you've been doing it for 5 years because that takes up time, whatever that idea was. Nor do you have to defend something that you may not be doing. As you know, you'll have plenty of opportunity to watch it and to read the transcript and gather your notes. So with that, I saw Milane, I see Brad, and I see Melinda for starters. Milane, you there? I'll go to Brad and come back to Milane, and I see Lewis.
Good morning, Margot. Thank you for presenting again. I think I was here the last time you presented, so it's
Good
nice to
morning,
have
Brad. Thank you.
And I just going through your list of what you've been doing, and I think you're taking a lot of really have done a great job focusing yourself even further. Have you considered podcasting? Is that something that could be part of your strategy? It's not an area I have particular experience, but certainly uh, considering your work as conversational, perhaps that's something that you could share examples or bring on guests who could further elaborate what you do and why you do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So, Milane, have you come back? So then I believe
Can
I'm
you
up.
hear me?
Yes, Milane, you're up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm driving and trying to participate of the meeting. I do have a question for you, and that is, when considering your employee dynamics, have you nailed down personas? I will give you an example of executives or people in leadership, especially women. um, who are facing being told they don't necessarily have good interpersonal skills as an executive. Women often get that. You're either too weak or you're seen as too aggressive. It's like this weird dichotomy. So a lot of executive women end up getting executive coaches for that reason, and they do participate in interpersonal trainings. So I wondered if you have considered what employees you are targeting, the different personas.
Yes, ma'am.
Great
I'll
point.
stop there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, one of my notes to come back to. Melinda,
Um, as I started to think about your question and how you could orchestrate something in a group, I have one question and then I want to continue. What age are you doing young people? What age ranges? What part of the um, career path are you talking to? Are you talking to managers? Are you talking to employees? That would just be a helpful response. But
Sure. So, okay, thank you for telling me when I can respond. Well, not can respond, but should
okay.
respond. So,
And
definitely those that are in the need of this obviously start at, 5 and work until 99, but that's not who I'm focusing on. The greatest impact has been made on those who are over 30 and close to retirement, that range. I do sometimes do special classes for new to the workplace, but that's a completely different sort of learning, and I'm not diving into that. I do that volunteer.
have you ever
So,
thought of doing icebreakers in the beginning? And what I thought of immediately when you were doing this is have crayons and have everybody pick a crayon and then have them meet, the blues sit at one table, the reds sit at another table, and have them find things they have in common together.
oh,
Or do
wonderful.
something, do things like that that just break the ice and get them thinking all of a sudden in that way that, hey, this person's not in my political party or whatever it might be.
Yep. Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much.
great. Lewis, then Karen, then Greg.
Hi, Margot. Thanks. Didn't mind being the guinea pig.
Oh, thank you. I didn't ask you, so thank
No,
you.
I'm just kidding. I'm reflecting on the questions you had, and what I have found always throughout large, small, medium companies, the thing that plagues the organizations is lack of teamwork, right? So I think as you look at, structuring your offering, I don't know if you've considered doing that from a how do you get your team members to work more collaborative, right? Because the question you had before, your question said, if I only stop doing this, I tend to think from a communications perspective, like, if you put a positive spin, maybe it would be better, right? So I would, in the context of what I said from teamwork, I would suggest maybe saying, if I could start trusting my teammates better, this is how our
Mm,
communications would be, would become more effective. So just question
lovely.
for you, have you considered more from a teamwork and creating your interpersonal communication skills, which are very much needed in a teamwork sense for organizations?
Lovely. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Okay, I have Karen, then Greg, then what's your name? Oh, Jen Dalton.
Thank you. So my question is, you mentioned the like employees getting something on their annual reviews, like about their communication. Do you already have information about what's being said? Like what comments are coming up around that in their reviews that you would be addressing for them?
So that I'll give 30 seconds on. And yes, there is data that communication is the number one thing written in performance reviews across all industries. Beyond that, the people writing the reviews don't have enough vocabulary to write specifically what it is. And so that's the gap that I'm trying to fill and put language around that to help them. So what specifically is that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, by the way, Greg, earlier you were looking down at one point and I was surveying the room. And what I saw was this green head with a bill, like a duck, with something around its head. And I wasn't sure before I saw it was Ballard that what that was in our room and who would have admitted it. But anyway, go.
Anyway, good morning, Margot. Pleasure to meet you. I was not
You as
here
well.
for your original presentation. I'll briefly share with you, I'm in a very similar space. My firm does coaching and leadership development, interpersonal communication. I'm a PCC with the ICF. And so to answer your questions, a couple bullet points for you. What I see is the big thing I see is accountability. I've seen that as a major trend in my career is how do I hold my team accountable? And we fundamentally pivot that. No, how do you help your teammates hold each other accountable, right? So that leads to the next question: what's the recurring interpersonal dynamic? It's the lack of holding each other accountable. That barrier that we have because, hey, I'm doing my job, you do your job. You don't rat on me, I don't rat on you, and that element that we have in most companies, but with the teams that I see thriving, they've broken that barrier and they've entered into what we call unsolicited feedback, where you're not going to ask me for feedback. I'm just going to tell you how your work quality is from a very constructive place, from that team place. Like I really want to echo everything Lewis said, that team building perspective. And so I could talk for a long time on this, but accountability would be the thing that I would say I'm seeing a lot of my clients look for, and a lot of the value we bring for them.
Thank you, Greg. That is an excellent example of behaviors following thoughts. And if we talk about accountability, that's the behavior. So what are the thoughts that they're having behind that that's not letting them either speak gracefully in the moment and hold up and pent it up, or avoid conflict, or fill in the blank of all of these other trends of the thoughts that they're having that are keeping them from that behavior that keeps that teeter-totter of accountability. And let me just tell them again what they need to do instead of holding them accountable.
And again,
I'm in your village.
I could talk for
Absolutely.
a long time on the thoughts and
Me
emotions
too.
people
We'll
have.
geek
So
out together, Greg.
Wonderful comments. Jen.
Thank you, Margot. I love the topic and the whole area that you work in. I think interpersonal communications are still such a challenge for people. Two of the things that I believe to be true now in this environment, which feels different than when you were here last, even more so. I do think a lot of people are more stressed and they're operating in a sort of more agitated state, which makes it very hard and literally impossible to collaborate and innovate. So one place to consider might be how do you help teams learn the skill of, I don't know if it's self-reflection, I don't want to say meditation per se, but recognizing when they're under stress and to take a minute before they go into a discussion or conversation. The second piece is assume positive intent. So I think a lot of people, you know, we fill the story in our head of what we think is happening, and our brain is trying to protect us. And it's like, well, John didn't do that because of this. He doesn't really like me. And that may not be the truth at all. John might have just had an off day. And so I think those two pieces I definitely see in workplaces and continue to see. For what that's worth, I just thought I would chime in.
Lovely. That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Good thing you were talking about John Foster because I don't have bad days.
Isn't it though? I'm so glad you knew that right away.
So I'm going to jump in for a second. And the comments have been amazing. And I think you have to focus on the pain
Yes.
points. So I'm in, and again, Milani mentioned earlier about your ideal client. So a client is a business between the size of X and Y. If X is 25, then you're probably dealing with an owner. If the company is 500, you're dealing with either HR or a program manager who has, among many problems, a talented individual who every time you walk into that person's office, they're gruff, mean, or they don't know how to relate. They're phenomenal in what they do, but they fail in, okay, that's very painful because that person can't move forward and is turning off the population around. So therefore, once you define the set of pain points and define, because you're asking us about the pain points, what are the problems? The biggest problem I've run into is having a talented person who doesn't know how to communicate.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are the
Next
ones that are
person,
my
sorry, I'll go back to my
specialty.
role. I'm sorry.
Those are the ones that are my specialty in coaching, are people with career damaging interpersonal skills. So that seems to fit what I was saying earlier, is I'm too close to my own work. Well, why am I not marketing to those people?
By the way,
They usually don't
they're
self-identify, but their bosses will.
correct. They're the very people who say, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah. So thank you.
But
That's like
sure,
missing what is right in front of my face. Thank you.
excellent. I have Vyasha, then Prabmeet, then Melinda.
Hi.
Pardon me?
Hi. So this is my first time on here, and I hope that I'm responding in the right way. But with the questions that were asked, I noticed like in my industry, it's accounting and taxation, these client service industries. What keeps coming up is that employees struggle to set healthy boundaries with clients, while management pushes for responsiveness and billable hours, and um, employees don't know how to handle these expectations effectively and how to communicate what they're experiencing and the issues that they're experiencing. And a lot of them get um, overwhelmed and stressed and um, just don't know how to deal with that.
Lovely.
Great.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Anything else, Vyasha?
No, that's it. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And welcome, by the way, Vyasha. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here today. It's awesome. Prabmeet.
You, Margot, I hope I'm not pronouncing your butchering your name. The T gets pronounced or does not? Let me ask that first.
Does not, Margot.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. So Margot, I was like many others here. I was not there for your first presentation, but I'm inspired by you in having taken those action steps and actually moving along with them, and not just put it in your back pocket. The one thing which I think it's gonna sound similar to what Vyasha was saying about these younger people who are coming into workforce, where some of them are COVID college graduates. Okay,
Yes.
they really don't know how to express themselves. Apart from that, all this social media, that's how they know. They know how to text. They find that better than just verbal communication, or writing in journals. They find that better. So with this younger popular, keeping that in mind, I was just wondering if you are thinking of taking your offerings to college or university levels, just kind of giving them an exposure of what to expect before they get into the workforce, so they know how to ask appropriately, how to behave appropriately. And it's not just for the managers, because so that was one aspect of it. The second aspect was when you're saying that in your industry, you've seen the surveys or the data just says they have communication problems and the managers are not able to articulate what problem do they have. I'm not sure if that's how true it is, but I have a feeling that it's because they are trying to ding people, so that because they have to maintain these certain bell curves to go along with. So maybe introducing some sort of like tips on like, okay, these are the communication, here's what the breakdown of those communication expectations are for the performance appraisals, and say, okay, which part of these do you think they're not appropriating? So just my 2 cents on these two aspects. The younger
That's a
population.
great idea. Yeah, it's not their fault that they don't study communication like I do and know the 400 things underneath. Well, why don't I help them?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Great
good luck.
idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Karen.
Thank you again. I apologize. Somebody might have said this. I've been distracted with workers. So first thing that comes to mind, I'm assuming you're familiar with Patrick Lencioni's Five Dysfunctions of a Okay, so I'll skip past that. The other thing that comes to mind, are you in any facilitation groups like MAFN, Mid-Atlantic Facilitators Network, or it was Southeast Atlantic Association of Facilitators? There's a lot of this kind of overlap with those, so you might find other people in those organizations. SEAF or MAFN are facilitator
Wonderful.
networks.
Thank you.
And then one other thing I would say, what I notice in communication in the workplaces I've been in, it's not an individual problem. It's usually a group or thing. So it's not like, oh, this one person, which sounds like that's some of what's happening is like this person gets dinged. It's like so-and-so's communication is bad, but it's rarely just one person. It's often a dynamic. So are you doing things that work with the dynamic of the team rather than just an individual training?
So that goes back to what I used to do and what I'm doing today. So yes, did a lot of culture work and working with organizations. And that's what I'm trying to say no to now, to stay focused on the work that I've done and what I've published. So, but that background is there as part of the experience in offering the class and
Okay, so
understanding those dynamics and how the culture kind of becomes this gossip central or putting up with not having boundaries or taking advantage of boundaries. Absolutely.
so it sounds like your focus is on working with the individuals, not with the
Working with the
groups.
individuals and
Okay.
offering the classes. That's what I'm trying to get my scope down to instead of doing that larger culture work anymore. Yeah.
Okay. It's important to define. Jen.
Oh, thank you, John. One of the things that I'm sure you've heard this statistic that 70% of an employee's experience and engagement is driven by their manager and how well they either recognize them, value them, give them feedback or coaching. And so I think sometimes managers forget the obvious communication, like saying thank you, saying great job, and they go straight to the feedback. You need to do this, you need to fix that. Is that something you've built in, just like discerningly or intentionally, is coaching managers on being better people managers?
So when someone suggested, are you defining groups of people? That's definitely a group. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a class for managers to recognize for themselves, I need to get better at this for engagement and retention, and as well as for the employees who are getting the feedback that you just need to communicate better.
Because I do think helping people just be positive and value and see their employees can go a long way. I know that sounds a little, of course, but lots of managers went from being a doer to becoming a manager, and they're really good at micromanaging, but not leading or managing people. So thank you for that.
Lovely. Thank you. It's a great population.
Brad.
Just wanted to chime back in here. When you were talking about communication, and that's like the common thing in manager reviews, something I have a firsthand experience with, that it tends to be kind of a catch-all for perhaps, either a larger issue, or maybe it's even that the manager just doesn't like you for whatever reason. So they say you have poor communication. So I wonder if you can see a pattern there. If employees are saying, oh, hey, I don't have good communication skills, and that's repeated, is it really pointing to the fact that maybe it's the manager who doesn't have good communication skills? The very people that you're trying to target with your marketing.
Yeah, that I agree there. And a lot of times when I was doing culture work and they would come to me and say, my employees are this and my employees are that, and that just drew the arrow right to them. That is a population. So good call. Thank you. Bringing it to my
Melinda,
attention again. Thank you.
sorry, Melinda.
So after Meet said what she said, an old book came to my head. What
Mm.
color is your parachute?
Oh, wow, the really old one.
You've
Yeah.
got a really new interpretation of what color is your parachute because
Mm.
it's all about communications.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that out as one thought of a way that you might want to write another book. And maybe it's what color is your parachute revisited in 2025 or something like that, which people will relate to. My other thing,
Yes.
the other thing I wrote down very quickly was
Mm.
doing weekly team meetings, but starting your weekly team meetings with the icebreakers. Going back to the icebreaker that I said, let everybody pick a color in the room and then give them 5 minutes to figure out what they have in common with the other
Hmm.
range, whatever it might be. Um, the weekly meetings and maybe starting it off each time with a topic that everybody talks about, but you get input from everybody and you
Hmm.
let them know no answer is a bad answer, but you're just trying to get feedback or ideas. Sometimes
Hmm.
it gets people involved, it gets people communicating, and it gets people to see other sides of other people
Hmm.
that they may not have seen before, and it will help break down the walls.
Nice. I like, Melinda, how you think in terms of tools. It's always we can talk about having higher emotional intelligence. And that's why I asked Marshall Goldsmith to be the person who introduced my book, because he talks about the what. Here's what you're not doing or doing too much of. Like one of his is you provide too much value. Well, that's great. And then you read his book and you're like, okay, well, what do I do about it?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm picking up from there with here's a ton of skills that you can try now to stop being that person everybody's talking about.
And if you
And
know
that's
what color
that's
is your
your mind is skill based
yeah,
too. Yeah.
you could
All right,
build
I'm
that
going to
into
jump in.
skill building.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to jump in just to manage our time because there are a
Sorry.
couple of hands still up. Thank you so much. The comments have been amazing. Lewis and then Greg.
Hey, hi, Margaret. The I'm honing in on what you said a few minutes ago about you're refocusing to target the individual, not the business. Did I understand correctly?
Right. Yeah. Not
Okay,
the
so
systemic issues. Yeah.
got it. So there is always individuals that are looking for self-improvement, right? And so kind of wondering if you consider patterning yourself after a very successful group called Toastmasters, right?
Yes.
So could you sort of create the Toastmasters, and I'm putting that in quote, for people
Mm.
who want to improve their communication skills and create a sort of a brand yourself that way somehow, and
Mm.
have people pay their small stipend, if you will, to individuals who want to improve, and now you create a community, and then you can probably scale that as well. Anyways, just a food for thought.
Ah, great idea. Thank you.
I've got Greg, Karen, and Jen. Oh, Seaman also.
So, Margot, another thing that I'm seeing pretty consistently, and you could look at this very broadly, or you could drill down very specifically at the individual level, and that's this management of stress. Um, People are very much overwhelmed in their role and not sure exactly what to do. So it could be anything from resilience to stress decompression, or things that I like to get into, which is prioritizing and deprioritizing, how to
Mhm.
decide
Okay.
where to put your time and attention. And so those might be some other things to consider as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great. Jen?
Building on what Louise said, I think that sometimes when people get feedback you don't have good communication skills, it feels extremely insulting, right? If somebody said, Jen, your accounting skills are terrible, I can go like, yeah, you're right. I'm not trained in that. But communication, I think people feel like, well, of course I'm a good communicator. That's the easiest thing to do. And so, building on what Louise said, I think creating that sort of curriculum where it's a exciting um, program to go through where you move up in skills and levels and celebrate it and to frame it as a positive. And the Toastmaster piece where you practice communicating with each other. But I think sometimes when people say your communication is bad, it really has a negative impact as opposed to, hey, you're doing a good job leading the team. We want to invest in you and make you even better. But I think that kind of a program where you could go through and at the end of it, be celebrated, recognized, I think reframing it as something we're investing in as a program is a really powerful thing. So I liked Luis's suggestion. I think done the right way, it could really reframe how people think about getting that feedback.
Yeah, nice. Sort of like it's your next level of training and communication, not that you're missing something, but it's time for the next level. Lovely.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Good. Karen Seaman, then Rutenberg.
Thanks. So one of the things I've noticed when it comes to the education about communication is active listening is often talked about, or practice good listening skills. But I rarely see people teaching people how to do that. I don't know if you include that in your work where you have a large part. Okay, that was one of the things that I noticed
Big.
when I look at communication that it seems to be missing. So I'm glad to hear that you have that.
Lovely. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, that's been the most popular one so far. So excellent. Yeah, because it drills down into the how-tos.
Seaman?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So I'm driving, my apologies. So another industry I'm going to scratch, right, is the technical folks. I've been through technical operations where people have very knowledge on the environment, and they are bad in communication, very bad, but they know their subject, and they can get away with murder because everyone knows that we cannot live without them. And I have witnessed those when the guys are bad communicator, you have to hold down, but they can get the jobs done. Because in operations, if something is bad, you only have few minutes to fix everything. You cannot sit down. And they complain. I say, hey, you guys were bad in front of the customer. They said, you want to fix those things or you want me have a very nice chat with them? I had no answer because time is against us, right? I don't know how to handle it. That's definitely you need to address those. We have done so many communication classes on the job, but when you're down on the real job, boots on the ground, you forget everything. All you do is get out of the back. Let me fix this right away. And this is important. I don't know how to handle that situation.
And Seema and I have been trying to figure out how to describe that population to say, I can help. And so I appreciate you telling me that it's operations, technically gifted, managing others, time stressed. You can see how behaviors follow thoughts. The thoughts there are the stress, in time management of it, the urgency, and that's when their skills drop. So adding more skills. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation.
So, well, questions are still popping up. I'm going to defer to Milani, then AJ. AJ, take it. Oh, Milani's here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm coming.
Go ahead, Milani.
Can you hear
You're good.
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm in my car trying to navigate Zoom. So I do have a question and a comment because I have a technology development background. So I spent 20 years in leadership in the technology industry as a woman. And I can attest that the communication is a challenge with the interpersonal skills across the development teams, the product teams, business teams, etc. But going back to that niche, I still think you have a niche, and there are a lot of women in tech that are navigating those dynamics, and especially in leadership positions and as executives. and they're hungry for ways to manage those interpersonal dynamics, because you can't change the culture, but as a leader, how do you navigate that effectively? And so I just wanted to speak up. It's not really a question, but it's like, have you explored that as a potential ideal target customer, and then a niche would be my question.
Milani, I needed you all as the professionals to describe it the way you see it. So yes, I've seen them, but I didn't know how to describe it, and you just did it beautifully. So that helps tremendously. Thank you.
AJ, and then we'll go back to John Foster as time is getting close to 10.
All right, Margot, good presentation. Good to learn something. But one of the ideas which I came out with, have in mind, start from the root level. So maybe affiliating with the schools, the high school kids, that could be another area you can explore, because that's where it starts from.
Nice. Excellent. Great idea.
Excellent. John Foster, okay, I do see. Thank you, everyone. These comments and questions were phenomenal. Margot, congratulations to you. Thank you for being here today. And by the way, we have 24 or so people in the room, which is awesome.
Oh, thank
Really
you. Thank you so much. I think
bet.
one of the areas too that I think that all of you have mentioned in a one way or another is also teaching people how to receive feedback. And that's what's changed between the last time I was here and now, John, which is you started doing that in the beginning. You do have to teach people how to receive feedback and not be defensive and not explain and, oh, but no, none of that. Just say yes, thank you, and consider.
The
Nice. Well
beauty
done.
is you don't have to listen to a thing, in fact, because it's all recorded and you'll get it.
Exactly.
All right, Foster,
All
come
right.
on.
All right, John. Well, we do have one final question, Margot, and is what else can our 1 Million Cups community help you with today?
Today, you've done a fabulous job. Tomorrow, I will be connecting with all of you if I haven't already. And when the announcements start coming out on LinkedIn, I would really appreciate it if you would share with your communities that those classes are now open for enrollment. They will be
Awesome.
starting in January of 2026. I've scheduled from January through April, and this is my trying time. Let's see what times work, what dates work, what advertisement worked, what messages sold, which ones didn't. So I would really appreciate that.
Great. Well, thank you, Margot. Again, I didn't have a chance to comment, but I wanted to thank you again. I actually took something away from this, from your presentation. So certainly grateful for the opportunity
Oh, great.
to hear
Good.
your presentation. So with that, hang on a second. Next week, we've got Hedia from Promenar Services. So look forward to that. And then again, anybody who's thinking about it or hasn't presented, is looking to present, there's a QR code down at the bottom of this page to go ahead and scan there to apply to present. We've got a number of upcoming events. I think somebody will scan and put this in chat as well, so you have the opportunity to take advantage of some of the networking events going on in the area. And so definitely take advantage of that. And then finally, our presenter schedule. So we just finished up today. We've got Teddy, as I mentioned, on the 15th. We have a virtual town hall coming up on the 22nd, which is going to be really exciting with around AI. And then on the 29th, we've got another virtual meeting. And then in November, we've got a couple of open spots. So if you are thinking about presenting, please consider November 5th or 12th, and then on the 19th, we have Hyacinth coming back with an update. And then we have a holiday on the 26th. So again, take advantage of that QR code on the right-hand side. Also, as Margot suggested, help Margot spread the word for her as she's looking to fill some classes, but for us as well. If you scan that QR code at the bottom of this page, that will bring you to all the links and certainly spread the word about 1 Million Cups Fairfax. It is a lot of fun on Wednesday mornings, and really grateful to have everybody here. And with that, we've got, I think we got like 3 or 4 minutes to network a little bit. So thank you, everybody. It has been an awesome meeting.
Thank you all so very much. I really